Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please let's go to the headlines.
Breaking tonight, NBC News learning the U.S. is weighing military options as Iran escalates a deadly crackdown on protesters. Hundreds of thousands in the streets of Tehran as government forces mobilize to try to crush the uprising. Local morgues filling up. And now sources tell NBC News President Trump's considering military plans, including possible strikes. Here at home, tensions spiking in Minneapolis after that deadly ICE shooting, with a top Trump official saying hundreds more federal officers are set to begin arriving today, with rallies spreading across the country. New tonight, the suspect arrested in the murder of an Ohio dentist and his wife set to make a court appearance. What we're learning about why he allegedly targeted his ex-wife as family and friends gather for the couple's funerals. Mississippi's largest synagogue nearly destroyed by fire overnight. The FBI investigation and the suspect now under arrest. Crisis as flu cases climb schools nationwide, dealing with a shortage of nurses. Our inside look at how some districts are making sure kids get the care they need.
This is NBC Nightly News with Hallie Jackson.
Good evening. We begin tonight with an escalating crackdown on protesters overseas and new reporting from NBC News today that President Trump is considering possible military action in Iran, with the Middle East on edge. You can see what it looks like in Tehran tonight. Hundreds of thousands of people in the streets, buildings in flames, cars on fire. You see it there. Human rights activists now say more than 500 people have been killed. But with an internet blackout, it's tough to know what the real number may be. One grim indicator? Videos like these, dozens of body bags lined up outside a morgue. And new tonight, President Trump looking at options including possible military strikes, according to our sources. We've got team coverage tonight, starting with Raf Sanchez.
Tonight in Iran, the death toll surging as the Islamic Republic tries to crush the spreading protest.
On this Sunday night, escalating
rising in the country.
and threats to retaliate. The spending in Ontario. Proceed one spreading word of bird. Much. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Iran is unleashing deadly force on demonstrators, and today Tehran issued a sharp warning to Washington that U.S. forces and Israel could become legitimate targets, saying it will retaliate against any strikes inside its territory. It's a move U.S. officials say President Donald Trump is weighing, raising fears the situation could escalate beyond Iran's borders. Demonstrators across the Islamic Republic are standing firm, demanding a regime change. It's still difficult to know the extent of what's happening, given internet and telecommunications have been cut. But according to human rights groups, more than 500 have been and then 10,000 arrested. Heather, you're our tonight. The settlement of permanent unheard. Canadian Gazal Kanlarbik says the last few days have been an incredibly emotional time.
Today's the third day that Iran is in a total blackout. They cut the internet, phone lines. So, and we all know why is that. Last time it happened was in bloody November.
1,500 protesters were killed in November 2019 when the Iran regime moved to crush a nationwide uprising.
human rights groups estimate so far hundreds more have died this time around, though numbers have been impossible to verify. This video shows loved ones gathered outside a medical center in Tehran to identify bodies. U.S. President Donald Trump, who over the weekend took to social media to say his country stands ready to help Iranians seeking freedom, will be briefed Tuesday on potential next steps, according to the Wall Street Journal. Chants of death to America in Iran's parliament Sunday as the government promised retaliation. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his country was closely monitoring developments in Iran, hoping it would soon be free from the yoke of tyranny.
Right now, protests in Iran intensifying to an unprecedented level as Tehran cracks down, and activists report more than 200 have been killed. The Trump administration is reportedly planning on stepping in as the president vows to stand by those protesters and help them reach freedom.
Our next guest led Tehran as a child and says Iranians have been trying to overthrow the Ayatollah for years. All they needed was that missing piece, Donald Trump. Patrick Bet-David joins us now. Patrick, it's such an honor to have you on the show, and you're the perfect guest for this topic. Listen, we just put up a quote from Lindsey Graham, who's definitely in support of President Trump intervening in this case. A lot of people voted for President Trump because they said, no more stupid wars. And you understand the implications. I think you understand what has happened in the past. Is this different? If so, why?
Rachel, Griffin, Charlie, great to be on with you guys this morning. Here's what's different about it. For 47 years, here's what's been constant. The Iranian people have been wanting to get away from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard for 47 years. For 47 years, the number one candidate that everybody would talk about that could pull this off is the son of Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, which his name is Reza Pahlavi. Everybody wants him to go back and do it. He's supposed to be the savior. The only difference between the last 47 years and today is there's a guy at the White House that they fear in Iran. When I mean fear, they know his threats are not regular threats. There are certain people you fight when he tells you, if you say something, I'm going to hit you. And you're like, no, this guy's full of it. When President Trump tells you he's going to do something, he does it. Iranians remember when he took out Qasem Soleimani, and they realized this is not a regular guy to play around with. But here's what I will tell you. Emotions are very high right now, very, very high right now. And people around the world who are Iranians that want to go back and see their country, all of us remember the history of Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, how amazing of a job he did. He gets criticized a lot. But to us Iranians who came from there, I was born during that time, and my family stayed in Iran for 11 more years, so I lived in Iran under Khomeini for 11 years. But here's what's happening that media is not talking about. We're hearing reporting about 200 people. Why would Khomeini and Pezeshkian turn off the internet for 3 days? The numbers I'm getting is 2,000, 4,000. Doctors, hospitals sending reports saying these numbers are higher than it is. And there's a couple things going on, but I'll pause here. There may be a follow-up question from you guys.
Hello, very good morning to you. This is Sky News at 2 a.m. These are your latest headlines. People reportedly killed in Iran rises to more than 500 as President Trump warns that he would take action to protect protesters.
We ask our dear young people who have reached their own conclusions, rightly or wrong, not to be deceived by these agitators and terrorists.
Lord Mans for the first time sitting as US ambassador, but doesn't apologize for his extended association with pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. And a crackdown on pothole now traffic light system to hotspots. Hello and very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on Sky News. The number of protesters killed in Iran has risen to at least 538. That's according to the US-based human rights activists news agency after a deadly crackdown by the regime. The Speaker of the Islamic Republic's parliament warned America and Israel that they will be considered legitimate targets if they intervene after President Trump offered support to the protesters. Our international correspondent Diana Magnay reports.
The voice of many united as one, calling for a better future. But can you make out the figures on the bridge in the distance here? The firing of gunshots, explosions in the air. These are disparate videos, making it out of Iran via Starlink despite the internet shutdown. But they give a glimpse of the crackdown. And of its aftermath. Numerous body bags in a forensic centre south of Tehran, some on mortuary trolleys, more lined up on the floor. A mother screams, begging for her child to get up one more time, but they won't. And outside that morgue, the screams of distress and despair as relatives search for their loved ones.
Today, uncontrolled fires continue to burn in Victoria, with at least one person dead and hundreds of structures lost.
The conditions are continuing to be more favourable than they have been in more recent days, but that doesn't mean that the risk is over as of yet.
Heavy rain from ex-tropical cyclone Koji batters north and central Queensland. Around 500 people reportedly killed in ongoing protests across Iran. And Rose Byrne and Jacob Elordi lead Australia's shouters at the Golden Globes in Los Angeles. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Melissa McKay. Easing weather conditions are bringing some relief to firefighters battling out-of-control bushfires across Victoria for a sixth day. However, authorities are warning the danger isn't over yet. 400 hectares have been burnt so far, and the body of a man in his 60s has been found. At least 150 structures have been lost. However, that night to run coming days as crews gain greater access to the fire grounds. There are two major areas of concern today, with emergency warnings in place for the Otways in the state's southwest and the Walla Blaze in Victoria's northeast near the New South Wales border. The Longwood Blaze, the largest fireground in the state, remains out of control, but the favourable conditions mean it has now been downgraded to a watch and act level. The Victorian government has activated emergency assistance grants. $10 million has been pledged to farmers to help fight stop activate 200
particularly focused people who need, and so it is about recognising that there are going to be many who have financial difficulty, and these emergency assistance grants are available for those eligible Victorians.
Coverage in Talania, the fire ground. Our reporter Ashley Aldridge joins us now. Hi there, Ashley. So authorities have just provided an update on the fire that's burning there. Just take us through the latest.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, in this update that we did receive just a short while ago, we did get confirmation that the number of homes that had been lost in this fire has grown to 9. We also learnt that there have been a number of structure losses, around 50 that have been impacted, but authorities really sought to say that the assessment of these losses is still really ongoing, so we could see this number grow. We know that there's also been significant agricultural agricultural impacts and a pine plantation of around 10,000 hectares. This fire has burnt around 100,000 hectares, and to give you just an indication of how big it is, the perimeter is around 300 kilometres.
Is Asia Now.
Good morning. It's 11 a.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 8:30 in New Delhi and 10 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Ilakya Silveraji. Let's have a look at the headlines. Unrest in Iran escalates with rights groups reporting more than 500 deaths. Donald Trump says Tehran wants talks but threatens U.S. intervention, prompting Iran to warn that American bases are its sights. Australia bushfires rage on. Hundreds of homes destroyed in Victoria State. Authorities warn the fires could burn for weeks. And G7 finance leaders are expected to set price floors for rare earths to ensure Western mining and processing projects can compete with heavily subsidized Chinese production.
Africa News. The news.
At least 3 people were arrested in the early hours of Saturday during an anti-ICE demonstration in Minneapolis. The protest comes amid wider rallies against U.S. immigration enforcement and over the fatal shooting of the 37-year-old Renee Good. The woman was shot and killed by an ICE agent during an immigration raid in a residential street. Videos circulating online appear to show Good trying to flee the scene, but members of Trump's administration, including the U.S. president himself, have repeatedly defended ICE, claiming the woman had tried to run over the officer. However, the release of new footage that shows the shooting of Good from the perspective of the ICE agent that shot her brought fresh scrutiny. In the video, Good can be heard saying, "That's fine, I'm not mad at you," when the officer passes by her door.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad, boy.
When other officers approach her car and demand her to get out, Good reverses briefly, turns her steering wheel towards the passenger side, and proceeds to drive forward. This is when the agent opened fire. As Good's car loses control and speeds off, one of the officers can be heard uttering a profanity, what seems to be directed at Good, an exchange that further heightened public anger.
As the Africa Cup of Nations heads into its final week, host Morocco marks its annual Handicrafts Week, merging culture and sport and highlighting their deep connections across the continent.
La culture et le foot font bon ménage.
Culture and football go well together. This is to show that the handicrafts we have are shared with our African brothers, our African friends. Today Morocco beats in the heart of Africa, and Africa is beating in the heart of Morocco. It's extraordinary. We're living some exceptional times, a festival. We need celebrations because what is in the news is very difficult. Current events are intense, and we need celebrations. We need fraternity, a fraternal celebration that combines football and culture.
Fête fraternelle, c'est le foot et la culture.
The exhibition in Rabat includes football-themed works of art while showcasing artisanal Moroccan craftsmanship, including metal and woodwork, textiles and jewelry. Design has a role to play at the level of vision and strategy. If these factors are integrated and if design is used efficiently, the work of creators and designers is to develop collections and take part in exhibitions, mainly in the United States and other regions of the world. As you said, the region to which we export the most is the United States. We could bring in fresh blood and thus take part in the preservation of some skills that are threatening to become extinct. Artists say it's important for dialogue between African countries to include collaboration on a cultural level. We must have exchanges. We're used to having North-South dialogues,
Welcome to Night Watch on France 24. I'm Alexander Orcott. These are the headlines. US President Donald Trump says he's been contacted by the Iranian leadership, which wants to negotiate as mass demonstrations loosen their grip on power. There are reports of hundreds of deaths in a brutal crackdown. Cuba, meanwhile, snaps back at the US, saying nobody can tell him what to do after Washington threatened to starve it of oil and money long provided by Venezuela if it did not, quote, make a deal. And renewed Russian airstrikes on Kiev spark a fire in the Ukrainian capital tonight at a time when residents have already spent days without power in freezing conditions following Friday's bombardments.
This is DW News live from Berlin. More mass protests shake the Islamic Republic of Iran. Hundreds have been killed as security forces crack down on the nationwide demonstrations. The US stands behind the campaigners, but the regime in Tehran warns Washington to keep out of its affairs. And fashion meets politics at the Golden Globes Awards in Hollywood. With outfits as dazzling as ever on the red carpet, some celebrities are going public on controversial issues such as the ICE immigration raids.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.